You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike TOSAW from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster GIOVINAZZI from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time to dance, time to commence our broadcast week here, not just for the old OB, but for everything we do here on the old Options Insider Radio Network. Remember, all those shows are available on just about every on-demand platform under the sun. I know that's how a lot of you like to consume it. If you do consume it on demand, all we ask is that, hey, if you like what you hear, keep rating and reviewing either the show or the network, whichever way you get the program, so that more people can continue to discover and enjoy what you've been enjoying for all of this time. And of course, if you want to go above and beyond, enjoy it even more, engage live, not just with me, but with all the guests and hosts we have on throughout the week. Got a great pro Q&A coming up tomorrow. Mr. Scott Nations returning to the hot seat. He's one of our many hot seat Q&A guests who really loved it and loves it and is always asking to come back. So he does love answering your question. Nice guy. He's also got a new book coming out. So get those questions in about all things volatility tomorrow for Mr. Scott. If you want to enjoy and join those great pro Q&As as well as options oddities every Friday, all the giveaways, all the live stuff throughout the week, theoptionsinsider.com/secret club. Remember, just me and you talking here. Don't tell anybody about it. That's a secret offer, secret deal, secret entrance code just for you. All right. And of course, however you listen live after the fact, we do appreciate your questions, your comments, playing along in our polls, our questions of the week. We got a fun one up there right now. I hope the Viceroy doesn't see it. He may have some opinions on the one from this week. That is how we know what the heck you guys are into. So keep engaging, keep sending in those questions. We do love to hear from all of you folks. And before we hear from who we're hearing from today, by the way, we will be joined post-haste by the uncleest of Mikes from St. Charles Wealth Management and the rockingest of lobsters. Easy for me to say, the rockingest of lobsters from the Option Pit. So an early welcome to both of you gentlemen, because now we have to dive in and kick off things the way we like to do. It is time. Usually this is where we guess that 80s wrestler. Last week, we kind of did a little bit of a segue outside of the 80s into the early 90s. That person, of course, was Razor Ramon, who passed away tragically last week, but he debuted in 92. We made an exception for him, for I know a lot of people of that era hold fond memories of him. This week, because we are joined by the Rock Lobster and not the Meatball, I know he has a hard time with some of the 80s wrestling things. I want to make it a little bit competitive this week as well. So we're going to keep it 80s wrestling related. Everyone thinks of, when they think of stars from the wrestling world transitioning to Hollywood, they think of The Rock, maybe John Cena now, all those guys. But they forget that back in the 80s, there was one superstar who did it all first. He tried to be The Rock before there was The Rock. And he pretty much, I think, made one movie. And it was, to put it mildly, not good. But there is one line of dialogue from said movie that is the stuff of legends. You could argue, I don't think it's even arguable. I think it's just fact. This is the greatest line of dialogue ever uttered by a WWE superstar, certainly in the realm of Hollywood. So for this week, you get to name the movie after you hear this awesome scene and hear this awesome line of dialogue. And then bonus points if you can name the actor the wrestler who tried to become the first Rock. And unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, maybe after you hear the scene, we'll see. It did not work out so well. All right, here we go.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
And then a litany of shooting commences. So there you go. One of, if not the greatest lines of dialogue ever uttered by a WWF superstar in a Hollywood film. I shall now open up the floodgates to guessing when I say 3, 2, 1, go. They will both buzz in and see who can name this film, and for bonus points, the wrestler who uttered such a memorable line. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, Uncle Mike, way ahead of the game there. Mr. Rock Lobster, could you not hear it?
I heard it right at the end. What did the guy say?
He said, I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass, and I am all out of gum. And then the ass kicking commenced.
Right. Yeah, I think I missed that one.
Okay. Well, I wanted to give you a chance. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, can you name this legendary piece of cinematic dialogue from the film? Can you name the film and also the wrestler, sir?
I can't name the film, but the wrestler is Rowdy Piper.
You are correct, sir. That is Roddy Piper. Everyone forgets that he was going to be The Rock before The Rock became The Rock, and he left WWE with much fanfare to do just that. And he came out with this film. I think this film was 88, maybe 86, somewhere in that time frame. And it is called They Live. It is not exactly a memorable film outside of that one line of dialogue. It's effectively, it shows you how memorable it is. I've never even seen it. I've just seen that scene. I was a little too young for it when it came out. I think it was pretty R. But yeah, it was all just, he could put on sunglasses and spot aliens. It was like an alien infestation. And so he was going into a bank in that scene, and he had his sunglasses on, and he was looking at all the aliens, and he proceeded to shoot them all with his shotgun. But he came to chew bubble gum and kick ass. I think it's great. He doesn't even have any gum in that scene. There's no gum. So it's just a great line of dialogue as we keep on rolling right on into a perhaps even equally great trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down what the heck is trading. And today, yet another day, another argument for why we don't really, and we really can't prepare for the show too far ahead of time. Try to prepare, I don't know, a few days ahead of time, even a few hours at a time. And, the markets will always throw you a curveball and you have to throw it all away. So today is another good day because we were looking kind of mixed not that long before the show. And then now as we're kicking off the show, we are looking firmly back to the dark side. The NASDAQ leading the charge to the dark side once again, as it's wont to do, off almost 1.25%. The S&P off about 0.2%, and the Dow flirting with 1% to the dark side. All this means that VIX and volatility products were coming off. They are starting to gain some of that luster back now as the show has commenced. VIX was right around a 23 handle not long before showtime. When we kicked off the show, it had ticked back up to about a 23.75. That puts it a little bit down, a little over 2 points, about 2.15 points from our show on Thursday. VVIX was at about a 107 when we kicked things off. That's down about 6 points, but I'm sure if we re-rack that now, probably be higher as well. VXX was at a 24.75. Remember, this is a product that's had many problems of late, still managing to get 2 points off, down about exactly actually 2 points from Thursday's show. UVXY, same deal, was at about a 14.5 when we kicked off the show. That's down 2 points. And of course, now we run it again it's up to 15.5. So it has gained a point back. So things are looking frothy out there as we speak. I think it was all that Roddy Piper got the markets a little energized, and certainly the vol markets energized Coming into the show, we are seeing Vol Q was at about 27 and a quarter. That puts it down about 7, almost 8 points, about 7 3/4 points from this time last week. And as the day has ticked up, Vol Q actually is still down. It's about down more now, down to about 26. So down actually about another 1.25. So Vol Q continues its trend to the dark side, while the rest of the vol market maybe seems like it's firming up a little bit. Uncle Mike, sir, you got the name of the movie correct. I'm sorry, you got the name of the wrestler correct. So I'll give you half points, but it's enough for the opening slot here today, Mr. Uncle Mike. So what is catching your eye on a day that was looking maybe kind of Uncle Mikey and now not so much, sir?
Got it. Well, it's funny with where you were going with your lead into the movie. I thought for sure it was going to be Jesse the Body Ventura in The Predator saying, "I don't got time to bleed."
Oh, you know what? That is a good one too. You're right. I ain't got time to bleed. Jesse the Body had
got that one.
He had a good oeuvre. He had a good run there with Arnold, because he had that. He had Running Man. He was in a few of them that were really pretty good. So you know what? I may have to. Okay, it's up there. I'll say it's up there, that line with all their best, because that's a good one from Jesse the Body too. I say that all the time. My kid's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, I ain't got time to bleed. So yes, go ahead, sir. Have at it.
Got it. Yeah, Rowdy Piper was better off as a wrestler than he was as an actor, no doubt about it. But many fond memories of Rowdy Piper, but we can talk about that another day. In terms of these markets, the market's trimming a little bit from its rally that it had last week. I mean, we moved a ton last week, and we really had a lot of movement to the upside. VIX came down quite a bit, and with a movement to the upside as well. We were in the 30s in the VIX, and then coming into today, we even got as low as 22.99 for a short stint of the day today. So it's up again today. And then, of course, with markets pulling back a little bit today. But I think that I know some of the talk seems to be, did the Fed get it right? Are we going to raise rates more, or whatever the case may be? But I honestly believe that if we're just down 30 points in the S&P like we are, I think it's just kind of pulling back a little bit from just the massive rally that we had last week. And that's something that I think just kind of is par for the course. What I am seeing right now that's not pleasant to look at is the 10-year note coming down like it is selling off. It's kind of one of those things to where I'm happy I'm a covered call seller on it instead of just holding our bond holdings for our clients. But bonds are not pretty right now. So that's another thing with which I'm seeing at this point in time. But the beauty of options is that there's always ways with which to mitigate risk and do what you need to do, which is what I'll be doing a lot of today, it looks like on here. Just being a longer-term 10-year note bondholder, happy that we got some calls on it with volatility being higher, implied volatility being higher in the options. It has definitely eased the sting of what's happened in the bond world so far this year. So looking at that today, also we do have a little bit of an uptick in silver on the day. And then, of course, I think the real big story of today is that slippery stuff, oil. Oil's up 5% on the day today, again, back up to 108 a barrel. There's definitely buyers. And I think just last week, we got a little bit complacent with oil coming off like it has. But it's not coming off today. There's definitely many buyers coming around in the oil field at this point. So we have that to look at. Also, the one bright spot, or one of the one sector that is higher on the day today. Well, I mean, I guess if you want to count a couple of the one major sector that's higher on the day today is energy. XLE is up close to 3% on the day today. So we have that. And I just think that we're continuing to adjust to what's happening in the Ukraine right now and to where we're going to be with things. And I really don't see oil coming down significantly anytime soon. Of course, it can go up and down 5 to 10% a day, but coming back down to the $50, $60 a barrel level or that area, I think we're going to be up for a while with that. So a lot happening right now. And I think that this, along with just anything else, continue to manage risk, folks. And that's what I'm seeing.
And you know what else you're going to be seeing, or perhaps hearing in a couple of seconds, Mr. Uncle Mike, is a little extra bonus for you. Here we go.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Love it.
Okay.
There we go. All right, that's better. Now, you can't put that in my head and not have me at least play it once here on the show. All right, Mr. Rock Lobster, do you at least know that line of dialogue? Hopefully you do, from another infamous 80s film. Probably a lot more infamous, a.k.a. Predator. And then B, outside of that fantastic line of dialogue from one Jesse the Body, former governor of the state to the north there, Minnesota. Outside of that, what is catching your eye in a day where vol and the markets are all topsy-turvy, sir?
I have to say, I think Predator is one of my all-time favorite Arnie movies.
It's a good one. It's a pretty darn good one.
Definitely up there. And I personally think just Jesse's spot in that movie got him the governorship of Minnesota. They figured, if that guy's not afraid of the Predator, he'd probably make a good governor.
He ain't got time to bleed. What better qualification for a governor do you need?
Yes. There was a lot of good ones. Actually, that was a movie just of one-liners, as I recall. Pretty much.
The rest of them we can't repeat on this show.
Yeah, it's not exactly a family-friendly movie, but a great one nonetheless.
Yes, yeah, definitely not family-friendly. And then you had the Carl Weathers, Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of, studly dude. I don't know, the head-to-head, so to speak.
There was enough testosterone in that movie to fill like 5 other movies.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you know what? I can't even see him making a movie like that today.
No,
Those guys are so old now,
Well, first off,
like
yes.
no actor has that kind of, chutzpah anymore.
There's not enough steroids to make a movie like that anymore.
I guess not. I have to say, we do have. I am looking at vol today, and the Fed kind of comes out and says, "Hey, we are going to be really aggressive moving rates." Now it's gone from transitory inflation to it's just way too high.
Wouldn't you argue that last week was the time to make such a pronouncement? Why a week later? What are we doing here?
I think they're like, okay, we'll see how things react. That might have been my guess. I'm just guessing, okay, because I'm not the Fed guy. However, maybe the Fed guy went to go buy groceries this week, because I'm assuming that he pretty much doesn't buy any groceries for himself. So he goes to buy groceries.
The manservant went out to buy the groceries this week, sir.
Correct. And the manservant said, Fed chairman, groceries are way too expensive. Your Wheaties are up 40% since last year, sir. So I think that might have, who knows really, what changed things. And that's, the Fed always, gives themselves enough room to change their mind or be more aggressive. But I thought, we had a pretty good sell-off in vol the last few days of last week. It was intense, right? Like we went basically from, the mid 30s, the low 30s at the beginning of the week to 23. So we were out of the danger zone for a while. And right now, as I look at it, vol is VIX is selling off or jumping a little bit. And it's more of, but the market really isn't doing much. Now, and they do this like the knee-jerk thing, rates are going higher, so tech stocks aren't going to do well, and growth stocks are going to suffer and all that kind of stuff, which I don't believe, to be honest, in the long run. I think stocks that make money or companies that grow still grow. But anyway, at least for today, things are sad. Vol's a little higher. There's no the Ukraine negotiations are kind of slunk down, and I think another thing too is potentially with the U.S. kind of freezing some reserves for the Russians, and then like other countries are like, well, maybe we could get our reserves frozen. So I don't know. There might be a case for maybe also raising rates. To make the dollar look a little better, a little stronger dollar policy. It's probably long overdue in general, I think. And it could be that too. So I think there is some geopolitics intertwined in all of this stuff. So but in reality, SPX is down 3/4 of 75 basis points, not even down 1%. Although it was up a little bit this morning, but not much. And VIX is basically, it's up about a point. So I still think from a vol point of view, everything is pretty fairish until something changes. You still have pretty drastic intraday moves. So I don't think a 25 VIX is even unrealistic at this point, to be quite honest. So as we look around, I think you could still do some bargain hunting. I do think this Ukraine crisis at this point will, it probably, as the negotiations get closer, things will probably get more ugly, as in, maybe the Russians just shell things more and just be, not nice, I guess you could say, until they, whatever objective they have in mind. And then right now, that's what we have. So it's kind of after a day of last week, were we 4,200 SPX? I think we had a 200-point SPX rally last week, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like it was fairly large. Yep, it was. Yeah, so we were, I think we started the 15th or 16th. The low was 41.92, and we rallied 200 points. So not quite 5%, but a fairly good rally from the bottom. So I think as far as, the Fed saying what they needed to sort of stabilize things, I think they did their job. And at this point, we're sitting on, we're just sitting on this Ukraine thing to see how things work out. But, unless something gets drastically worse, it feels like all these, disruptions haven't really hit yet, like supply chain this and, Russian exports that, except for that LME debacle with nickel. This is it is it's just kind of a ho-hum day at a 25 VIX. That's it. But it's hard. It's hard to maintain this danger zone market at this point, because we kind of hit a low. We haven't really retested. We kind of retested it, and so I don't know. It feels like a little bit ambivalent. Vol's fairly priced, and now we're just kind of ho-hum waiting around, and that's kind of what I see. Not super exciting, but then again, not normal by any stretch either.
Yes, another ho-hum day above 25 in the VIX. By the way, Mr. Uncle Mike, I love our chat. They're pointing out to me, I did not know this, that Jesse the Body wrote a book called I Ain't Got Time to Bleed. So he clearly has embraced that line of dialogue as his own personal mantra as well, Mr. Uncle Mike.
Yeah, I remember that book when it came out a few years back.
There you go. There's two books on Uncle Mike's bookshelf. One is his book, Go Long, and the other one is the Jesse the Body autobiography. So check it out. A doubly stacked bookshelf behind Uncle Mike. Let's see if the markets are doubly stacked out there. We got some weird things popping off out there. Let's first go out to the major indices. And we're starting to see some paper creep onto the VIX tape. Usually a day where we're kind of languishing, not doing a heck of a lot. Vol is coming off. Those are days that usually aren't recipes for a whole heck of a lot of VIX options paper. But we're starting to see, as this kind of turnaround is making its way through, we're starting to see vol maybe firm up a little bit, starting to see a little bit more paper creep into VIX land. 382,000 contracts on the tape right now. That ADV has also continued to erode. It's down to 575,000, though. If we have a few more days like Friday and today, maybe we shall see that start to tick in the other direction. Certainly it seems like we're on track and on pace to exceed that ADV today. SPY closing in on 4.25 million contracts right now. The ADV right around 7.25. So SPY well north of half of its ADV as well. Same deal for the S. The S about 1.15 million contracts. The ADV is about 1.7 million out there. So the S looking pretty robust. And the small caps doing some paper. I mean, they are at about almost exactly half of their ADVs. You can't really say they're quiet. They're not perhaps as explosive as some of the other products we're seeing today, but still 396,000 contracts. So closing in on 400K. Their ADV is a little bit shy of 800K. So they're right around that halfway point. Remember, that ADV has also come in quite a bit since it was well north of 1 million not too long ago, about a few weeks ago. Let's see what's going on out there, though. Always my favorite barometer to kind of gauge what's going on, what's afoot in the broad market, is looking at our top 10 most actives. And the starting point for that is to see how much it actually cost you to break into the top 10. And today is no slouch. 234,000 contracts That's not nothing. It's you're not over 300K like some of these really aggressive rock'em sock'em robots today, but also it is not, 182,000 contracts, anything along those lines like we have seen in the past. And what is number 10? It's a recent offender in the top 10. We kind of saw it break in there last week on Thursday. It was actually at an interesting time. You might have thought this name would have broken in earlier given how much upside move we saw in crude oil, but it actually broke into our top 10 in the other direction when crude was starting to sell off later in the week. This is Occidental Petroleum, ticker symbol Oxy, back in there at number 10 for 234,000 contracts, as Uncle Mike alluded to. The slippery stuff getting a little bit of a lift out there again today. Number 9, our friends across the street, Boeing, 246,000 contracts. Chances are when they break into the top 10 again, things are not good for them. And that seems to be the case again. Looks like there was a plane crash. I believe it was in China. So not good news for them, but good for almost 250,000 contracts. Number 8, it's just another name we haven't seen in here in quite some time since I would say the meme 2.0, the latter stages of the meme rally last year. This is Vinco Ventures, ticker symbol BBIG. Trading a whopping $2.86, up 38 cents. I'll have to ask our buddy, Mr. Passarelli, coming up later this week on Options Bootcamp, if he's been rating this one. I know this is one of the ones he's had his eye on. This one, I know Rocket and a few others. A lot of these meme 2.0 names have been pretty popular with him. Looks like it's popular with a lot of folks today. Got up to as high as almost 320, 319 today before coming back off. So quite the pop out here in Vinco Ventures. Then we go to number 7, kind of an old school name at this point. This is Facebook. 280,000 contracts at number 7. Number 6 is Baba. Chinese stocks. They're on again. They're off again. They're on again. They're off again. It's very much a whipsaw market. You'll hurt yourself if you watch it too much. Just listen to oddities and all the fun we've had, all the drama around names like EDU. And Baba out here at number 6 today, 294,000 contracts. Number 5, it's a day that ends in Y. Chances are NVIDIA is going to be in there. And today it's at number 5. We leap up quite a bit. We go from 294,000 to number 6. Number 5, 574,000. That's a chasm between 6 and 5 there. Number 4, our old friend AMD. It almost should just park its flag at number 4. It's pretty much always there. 594,000 contracts. Number 3, yes, I said number 3, it's Tesla. What is up with Tesla today? Tesla is, let's see, they have only good for 780,000 contracts as well. That's decent paper for them, but it's not exactly explosive. We've seen them topple Apple pretty easily in the past. Not so much today, even though Tesla up right now about $11.50 or 1.25%, right around the 917.5 level or so. Got as high, looks like today is 927, actually 937 this morning. So it's had quite the run already, and hence a lot of options paper, but only number 3, 780,000. What the heck could topple Tesla today? Well, this is a newcomer to the odd block. I do not believe we have seen this in a top 10 in the odd block. This is a newcomer to the top 10 most actives. This is Zim Integrated Shipping Services, ticker symbol Zim, Z-I-M, doing a whopping 900. Oh, okay. So this seemed odd. And it is, okay, Zim 8574, but they're going ex-div. That's why this is. So I guess they can still play the div game on this one, doing a lot of paper, 916,000. So when you see something like that, listeners, it looks kind of weird, looks kind of askance. Chances are it probably is. We haven't talked about a big div play on here in quite some time. Haven't seen one make it into the top 10 in quite some time either. I'm going to assume that's what this one is as well. I haven't had a chance to dig in. Yeah, they're trading a bunch of deep in the money calls. Yeah, that's a div play if ever there was one, listeners. But it's good enough for number 2, 900. This is like the old days, and they used to put a lot of paper into these things. Wow, seems like once OCC made a few tweaks, these div plays, they didn't go away, but they dialed down the activity quite a bit. You can't really just do the old wash trades anymore. You kind of have to do some verticals, even though it seems like they're just doing straight up 75 strike plays here, which is and 60. So. Intriguing stuff. Div play making it into our top 10 today. I haven't seen that in a while. It means number 1 is the fruit company. It's Apple, listeners. Good for 996,000 contracts on the tape today. Apple kind of unched on the day right now, right around 164. It's had a range of, looks like, down to about 163.25, and the upside 166 and about a quarter. So it's had about a 3-point range today, but right now kind of hovering unched, but good enough for right around 1 million contracts. In terms of earnings and all that fun, not a heck of a lot popping off, even though we do still have some names. We're not just because we're outside of kind of the cycle proper. We're outside of the cycle as tracked by Matt and his team over there at ORATS. They really can encapsulate it all in 6 weeks. We're outside of those 6 weeks, but there still are some names popping off. Well, you got Nike today, Carnival tomorrow. That's the one a lot of people have been watching for this reopening trade. General Mills on Wednesday, the Meatball's favorite, Darden Restaurants, and a name that is usually a frequent offender in the top 10, not so much today. That is Neo on Thursday. So still some names to report when we get the latest updated earnings move results, earnings season, and earnings trade reports. We'll get those for you over there. TheOptionsInsider.com. Now we've got to go, listeners. It is time to unleash the beast. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's unleash the Eye of Sauron, see where it fixes its gaze. First off, Mr. Rocklops, it's been a while since we've seen a div play make it into our top 10. Can you recall the last time we saw one of those put up that kind of number, sir? It's been a while.
Yeah. I mean, I think they go up, but I not a top 10 one for sure. Maybe it's just the volume so light, but yeah, we haven't seen that in a while.
I mean, it goes closing in on 1 million contracts. That was nothing to sneeze at, even in the old days when div plays were going up pretty much.
1 million contracts.
Yeah. Even when Philly was like top of the heap every day because they were just putting up nothing but div plays. Even then, 1 million contracts was nothing to sneeze at. Let's see if we could somehow try to match that here in the Odd Block, listeners, as we unleash the beast, look for some unusual activity. First, I think this is another trifecta. I do believe these are 3 newcomers to the Odd Block today, which is always fun. Some new names to sink our teeth into. First off, let's go out to Warby Parker. They make all these online eyewear, glasses, all this kind of stuff, listeners. Trading, ticker symbol first off, WRBY. Trading right now, $30.50. Let's see what kind of tale we have to tell on this one. This looks like a recent addition because we only have data going back to September of last year. IPO SPAC, one of those new additions here to the market. At the time it came in, it was 54 and about $0.50. So obviously well north of where it is right now. This is a story we've heard once or twice before. Then it kept rallying. Unlike a lot of the other names that kind of sold off pretty quickly. This one rallied for a bit, got up to 59 and change in October, and then broke the 60 handle. Looks like a little bit later in November 17th, got up to $60.30. And that was pretty much it. That was the high for the year. Almost exactly $30 north of where it is right now. It's pretty much done naught but sell off ever since then. It got down to pretty aggressive low of about $22.59. This was last week on the 14th. So it has rebounded aggressively from there, as the rest of the market has as well. It's gone from $22.59 all the way got up to right around $31 recently on Friday, $30.62 right now. So it has popped quite a bit over the last week, even though outside of that, it's been pretty much nothing but downhill for online eyeglass distribution and manufacturing. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron found out here. It looks like, Mr. Rock Lobster, someone has decided that 52-week low level is a pretty decent level at which to acquire more of said Warby Parker stock. And so they decided to write a pretty decent sized line in the sand down there. 7,790 of the April 22 half puts going up there, pretty much not that far off the bid. They got 36 cents, so they actually got a few cents better for doing nearly 8,000 contracts. It's not bad for a name that doesn't do a ton of paper. That's almost a 100 vol. It's about a 98 vol if you are intrigued. The stock was a little bit north, about 20 cents north of when this went up, but not a huge difference. Let's see. Are there earnings? No, the next earnings announcement looks like it's in May. So this does not appear to be any sort of earnings play. It just seems like someone wants to harvest a little bit of the old risk premium. And also, if they end up picking up the stock, I don't think it's a coincidence that they sold these puts at pretty much exactly the 52-week low. If they end up picking up the stock down there plus 36 cents, I don't think they'll be too angry either there, Mr. Rock Lobster. What say you to our newcomer to the Odd Block, Warby Parker, and some line in the sand puts, sir?
Warby Parker. You know what's weird is every time I I think I've heard of every company and every stock symbol there is after doing this for so long. But I get surprised every once in a while.
You're not a hipster in Brooklyn buying the thick rim glasses. That's why you don't know them.
I guess so. I like it. This never heard of this at all. So you're saying this is some kind of, this was some sort of, Zim was the SPAC. This is just a actual company with some sales?
Yes, they actually have products that actually real people do consume and purchase, yes. They
really consume. All right. Okay. See here. So they had some retail stores. Interesting. All right. This does look like a line in the sand type put. Is that what you're going with on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that they sold a bunch of these right at the almost exactly the 52-week low, sir.
Yes, I think that does smack of good timing. Good timing or good judgment or luck or all three. So maybe a little of each. So yeah, this is looking line in the sand, and as of right now, it looks okay. Stock's $30, so I think they're going to pay.
And I don't hate these either. They're not going out to like next year or something crazy like that. They're just going out a month. Pretty rational, pretty decent level in the stock. All things considered, given how many line in the sand puts we have profiled here. I don't know, 10,000. This one seems pretty rational. I don't hate this one at all. What do you think, listeners? Are you down for these Warby Parker line in the sand puts? We shall make a note to come back to these, and we'll say that the Rock Lobster loves them with all of his heart. There we go. All right, so we'll make some notes there. All right, now let's move on to another newcomer. This is Clear Secure Inc. You've probably seen them. They run those TSA kind of pass lanes at the airports. I use the TSA one. I'm not sure why there's another party company that needs to do it, but hey, there's Clear out there as well. So maybe you use them. Maybe you have a better experience. I don't know. Ticker symbol U, Y-O-U. So got good tickers today on the show, if nothing else. Trading right now, $20.40, off about $1 or 4.5% today. So not a good day for you. Let's go back out there and see what the tail of the tape is for this one. This is another one. Seems like a newer addition to the public marketplace there, because they only have data going back to June 30th of last year, where they came alive at exactly $40. So obviously a wee bit higher than they are right now, almost 2x. They got up to, looks like the high for the year was on August 2nd, 65.70. So they had a nice little pop there for a hot minute. And then it was kind of about it. Unlike our other name, Warby Parker, they didn't sell off as aggressively. They kind of sold off at a more languid pace. They sold off down to back around their IPO level, or their, that $40 level. And they bounced around there for a while. Actually rallied again in November 9th, up to about $52 again before they started selling off again. Got down to about 25 in December, hung out there for a while until pretty much last month or so. They started trending down again, down to the $20 level. They actually broke it last week. They got down to their 52-week low of $18.79. I don't need to tell you what day that was. March 14th, 52-week low for a lot of names out there last week. We shall see if maybe today's action keeps up and we repeat this. Maybe we'll retest those lows. But for now, those are the 52-week lows for a lot of these names, including everyone's new favorite, U. And let's see what our Eye of Sauron picked up out here in U. Oh, we got a bit of a trend here, Mr. Rock Lobster. Maybe it could be. Let's see. Oh, and you know what? It's the exact same time as the other trade. They both went up at 10.24. It's almost the exact same size. The other one was 77.90. This is 76.50. A little bit less juice, about half. The other one went up for 36 cents. These are 17.5 cents. But it looks like paper, again, selling these listeners. Very similar vol level, 96 vol as well. The stock was a little bit north. It was $20.61. So maybe they're wearing it a little bit on these, but not bad. They still have a long way to go. And again, they're actually sold these puts on the 15 strike. So that's almost $4 below the 52-week low. So this is even less aggressive if the other one was aggressive out there. It looks like this one, unlike our previous name, though, they do have earnings, and the earnings are coming up very soon. They're coming up in 2 days on the 23rd. So this one is farther out of the money. He's getting less juice for it, obviously, but also he has maybe a little bit more substantial chance that something is afoot and these could come to pass. By the way, it's not all line in the sand puts. We did notice looks like an hour and a half later, someone coming up, looks like they scooped the 22 half calls, 2,580 times for $2 even. That's a 101 vol as well. So also pretty juicy. Those went up pretty much lifting the offer there. That's obviously about almost exactly $2 out of the money. So we have interesting, different takes on bullish paper heading into earnings in your new favorite name, Mr. Rock Lobster. You. What say you, sir, on you? How many times can I say you in one sentence?
I know. I was about to say, does it feel a little egotistical to call a stock? I don't know. Is egotistical the right word? Maybe TOSAW could chime in. But when you call something you,
you're trying to
it's
be
like having a T-shirt
distinctive.
that says "I love Maine" on it, but instead of Maine, like I love New York, it's ME. So
what kind of guy would walk on the floor of the SIBO with the acronym DEVIL, right? That's insane. That's something silly. Only a crazy person. You want to be noticed, right? That's what you do.
I guess so. So there were some interesting acronyms on it. So okay, if you look at this, maybe they got 17 cents. Again, one of our favorite things is the day you put the trade up, it just is a total. The day you put the trade up, it's already bid in
piece
your face.
of garbage. Yes.
Never great. And then of course somebody paid $2 for the calls, and they're $1 bid at $1.40.
Yeah, that's an ouchie. That's an ouchie right there.
It feels like there was some kind of news, and somebody just tried to lead the news. And once usually news comes out, things don't look. So I do not know if there's any news. It's just it has all the look of okay, they FOMO'd it in the morning, and then they just got they got run over by.
I should mention, by the way, I neglected to mention the calls were tied, so they did do stock against it at 21.86. So that makes it look a little better. Okay. That's a little better.
So they're rolling even. Then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, I could see that as a back spread, and then you sell the 15 puts to cut down the back spread cost by about 50%, thinking it just doesn't go to 15.
Went up the other way, though. Went up, sold the puts, and then like an hour and a half later, someone bought those calls. So, yeah.
Right. They're not. However, if you're putting your tinfoil hat on, this is let's see how much volume this does.
We don't wear those in downtown Chicago. Only in Maine do you wear the tinfoil hats.
Only in Maine. So... all right. So Philly, they trade the calls with stock, and then on the box they put up the puts. All right, two different exchanges. Maybe maybe not tinfoil hat time. So one person wants to back spread the trade, and the other person just wants to sell the puts. And let's see, what's the volume on this name per day? It actually has average. Okay, if this isn't the same person, I don't know. You can take so average daily volume in the name is 500 contracts. So you're telling me somebody whacks out the puts on one floor, back spreads at 22.5, not using those 15 puts to help finance.
There's a reason why we put them both in there. They gave us the whiff of related paper as well.
Let's just
the
put
whiff.
this to be watched in the whiff category.
Yes,
There's
definitely
a smell about this.
It did not seem entirely coincidental that both would go up within an hour and a half.
If we were standing in that pit, we would be like, let's put it this way. In the old days, it would have been in one pit because this would be a single list. It wouldn't be some stupid multiple list, right? And it probably would be the same broker coming in with the same order. And the customer would think they were being tricky by doing except he's using the same account.
Same broker walks right in. They're like, okay, stop running us over. Go away. Leave us
Somebody
alone.
Like Nemo comes in.
Yes. Some might say he might be ousted from the pit, which leaves us to our final of 3 names, all newcomers to the odd block. And we got a couple of cool tickers in here today. We just did you. That's a fun one. Our next one is OUSTER Inc. This is an American LiDAR company out of San Fran, of course. Where else would you build LiDAR? Ticker symbol OUST, O-U-S-T. I like that one. Trading right now a whopping $3.76. Man, we got a lot of candidates for our question of the week. We're going to get back to that in a little bit. So $3.76 off about 12 cents today on the year. Let's see. Do we get a full year? This one actually goes back a year, so that's nice. It was trading exactly $10 a year ago. And then it rallied all the way up to about 15. Take a guess which day, listeners. Can you guess? Did you say June 8th? You're correct. $14.99 on this chart is emblematic of everything we've been talking about for the last 2 years on this show. It goes straight up to June 8th and then right back down again. It's amazing. What majesty, what magic lurks on June 8th. I need to commission a study. It is getting out of hand now, the number of names that peak year after year on this same day. All right, so I think it's Alan Greenspan's birthday. That must be what it is. All right, so then it sold off hard the next day to 1133, and then it continued its downward trajectory pretty much until last week, listeners. That was the nadir. It was $2.84. Actually, take it back. It was January 28th that was the nadir, $2.84, even though it threatened that level again last week. So it's been hovering around the $3 range pretty much since the start of the year until this past week. Ever since the 14th, it's rallied from $3 up to where it is right now, $3.76. And Mr. Rock Lobster, it seems like wow. They are feeling their oats on this one. Someone is thinking this one's got some upside to go because someone came in this morning and scooped 5,249 of the Jan 2024. So they're going out a ways. 12 half calls. They paid a whopping 30 cents for these bad boys. That's a 69.5 vol. The stock was 5 cents higher. There are a ton of earnings between now and Jan of 2024. The next one is in May 5th. Mr. Rock Lobster. Now this is some old school meme stock palooza paper. 12 half calls in Jan 2024, 5,300 times. What say you? In my new favorite ticker, OUST.
Well, you have to admit though, if you have to hedge with stock in this one, if you're like, okay, I'm going to put up 1,000 or 2,000 of these, you're almost good just doing it 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, stock's $3 and change, and I'm selling the calls. I'm getting almost 10% on the right.
Yeah.
Now 2024, not your. And the calls are 30-cent bid coming out, probably because and there was some paper. There is some open interest out there, but kind of a funny one. So it's on. Well, yep. And there's still a 30 bid, so you could. Whoever wants these, they still want them, Mark.
They still bid for these.
Like they'll take them. And here's the funny thing:
a trade for oddities? Question mark.
Yes, and you know what else is funny? So there's a 30-cent bid, and okay, just so you can laugh harder, some retail paper paid 65 for some.
65 cents?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
So it's paying.
Now, if I sold those, I'm buying the stock 1-to-1 against them. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, how about the person with a mark at 30?
Wow.
So now the last print is 48 cents.
I missed the party today and see how I'm doing all these shows for you folks, listeners. I could have been selling 12 half calls for 65 cents in OUST all day long. See the literal price I paid just to talk to you? Yeah, 300 of them went up for 65 cents.
No.
That offends me on a fundamental level. That's like those Denison Mine calls. Only those went up 250,000 times, but still, wow.
I'm feeling scarred right now.
I'm angry that I missed those on multiple levels out there. Oh no, those are the Jan 5s for 65 cents.
Oh, the 300 lot went on the Jan 5s. No, let's see, I saw 2 trading 65. Sorry, two.
Okay, I'll have to dig into that. Meanwhile, it's time to dig into what Uncle Mike has in store for us. Maybe some more pearls of wisdom from Jesse the Body Ventura. Let's find out. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, the people have spoken. They want a full segment today on the wit and wisdom of one Jesse the Body Ventura, sir. Have at it. Go.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to do that because I'm not going to stop. I can actually do that for quite a while. Are you sure you want that?
He was an unheralded heel announcer. I will say that. He was pretty good.
Yeah, he was amazing. So, I mean, he was a guy that he got really sick. And so he had to take a hiatus from wrestling for a while. And then I guess he got better. He could have come back to wrestling, but he just became such the phenomenal heel announcer with which he was. I mean, he was just amazing with how well he did as an announcer. I mean, the man could talk, no doubt about that. I mean, even back to his AWA days, to where what he did. I think that if he would have stuck around in the sport as a wrestler, he could have rivaled Hulk Hogan even for being, I think those two would have had a 10-year feud, and I think those two would have just been amazing as wrestlers together if they'd have gone at it against each other. But unfortunately, he had to go into a fake sport called politics, and that's it. So, but with that being said, what I wanted to talk about today on the strategy block is exiting a long option position. I'm just making reference to exiting a long call or a long put. There's two ways with which I like to do it. The first way, it's fairly simple. It's kind of an all or nothing type of way, in that if I am looking to buy a call option and I want to make a ton of money on it, and I really need to have a loose stop loss, meaning I think the stock might go all over the place, well, I like to go with all or nothing, meaning I have no stop loss on my call or my put whatsoever. I manage risk by the size of the position itself. Because it's a limited risk position, then I'll limit my risk by the size of the position itself. Typically, I'll do this if I'm buying an out-of-the-money call or an out-of-the-money put. I don't like to do it too often, but the story with which I like to tell where it was really a success for me was in late 2018, where going into December, I was super bullish on the stock market. But I'm like, you know what? I've had a pretty good year this year in my aggressive strategy, but I'm still bullish. What can I do? So what I decided to do is just buy an out-of-the-money call option. So that way, with the option out of the money, I had a limited amount of risk on the table. I didn't put a ton of money into it. I protected all of or a vast majority of the profits that I had made going into that month. And I was dead wrong on the market. Market went straight down at that point. And so that's just an example that I like to use, to where you always need to put risk management ahead of market sentiment whenever you're trading or investing for that matter. Let's say that I'm looking to exit a position to the upside. Well, of course, in that all or nothing strategy, I got to have some type of a plan to where I know that once this option doubles, I'll roll it up or I will turn it into a spread, even though I don't know if I ever do that, but or I will just get out and take profit, whatever the case may be. You have to have a plan of that. Now, the other way with which you can go is you can go the stop loss method, or what I like to call the stop loss method. Let's say you spend $3 to buy a call option, whether it's in, at, or out of the money, and you know that you want to make $1 on it. You know that you want to get out of it at $4. Well, what I like to do is I like to have my risk management in place to where if it goes against me to the downside, then I would get out when I lose $1 on the value of the option. And by doing that, I'll roll in my time stop, meaning if it doesn't move enough for me in enough time and time decay ticks away, or an implied volatility stop in case volatility in that option drops. That's kind of my all-in-one stop based upon the different factors of option pricing. Now, let's say that, you know what, I need a little bit more wiggle room. I can't get out that quickly if it goes against me. You can have a wider stop loss, but understand when doing that, you're going to have to be right more often. Because if your stop loss is wider than your profit target, you're going to have a greater frequency of being correct on the trade. Now, in going the other way with this, let's say I get out quickly, but I let my profit ride. Well, you don't have to be right as much, but you're going to have a bigger move in the underlying to make this work. So those are some ways with which I like to get out of option positions, either to I'm making money or losing money, because both things are going to happen as a trader. And if you're interested in more information on this exact subject, I am releasing a YouTube video on this exact strategy, hopefully later today. Check out my YouTube channel, St. Charles Wealth Management.
Look at you teasing your YouTube. Look at you having a coordinated media strategy there. Well done, sir. As we go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, we're kind of coming up against it, listeners. We're going to do a combo around the block, as well as where folks can reach out to you to learn more. By the way, I see we got the Flow Master lurking in there. I did fire up OUST in the old trade alert to see what the truth is, what the rock lobster, if he was telling me lies or not. And he was not. Someone traded 2 lots of those Jan 12 halves for 65 cents. It was like an hour and 20 minutes after that big block went up. So, wow, I feel for them. That hurts me in my core to see that. But say, hey, good for whoever sold that to them. Hopefully some of our listeners got in on that action, selling that upside. Just make sure you put something on against it, in case this is one of these crazy names that does go to town. We'll keep an eye on all this fun. By the way, speaking of fun, get on over there to @options if you haven't already. Our question of the week is very much relevant to these names we talked about today. We asked you, some people refuse to trade options on cheap stocks. Are you in that camp, or will you trade options on anything? Quite simply, what is your cutoff point where the stock becomes a little bit too cheap to trade the options? We said below $15, below $10, below $5, or you have no limits, you're a savage. And right now we have 2 ties going on, 37.5% each for below $5 and no limits, you're a savage. And then 12.5% each for below 15 and below 10. No votes for below $10 until a few minutes ago, which is weird. Again, just went live a few minutes ago, but I thought that would be the runaway winner. But so far, that's not the case. @options, make your voice heard. Our question of the week. Now let's go back out to the rocking of the lobsters. Mr. Rock Lobster, sir, what are you watching until we gather here together on Thursday? And if folks want to have more from you in their lives, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, what am I watching for this week is, again, we got no earnings, got no Fed. We got a lot of Ukraine, or that's pretty much kind of
apparently sad. There's always Fed. They'll just chime in willy-nilly, right?
I know. Like what they just say today, are like, well, we're just going to, now the inflation's really high, and we're just going to do a 0.5 point. Like we're going to do it. We're going to do it big time if we need to. So, into an election year, yeah, I don't believe it. Okay, so anyway, hopefully the Ukraine thing gets better. Again, all these massive dislocations, the markets seem to be taking it all in stride. Maybe this global supply chain system works, and if the Russians won't sell it, somebody else will. Who knows? But I do know there is quite a bit of fertilizer and grain to be had out of the Russia-Ukraine combo there. So, and I believe that feeds a good part of the between Europe and Africa. So anyway, let's hope it goes away, but that's mostly what I'm watching now. I have to say, I think the market is taking this Fed news in stride relative. So I don't know. I'm just saying, like, when a vol doesn't go up and you think it should go up, it's probably going down. So it wouldn't surprise me to see I don't know, maybe very low 20s. Maybe even 20 vol this week. I'm just saying.
There you go. When you think vol should go up and it doesn't go up, probably going to go down. Wise words. We have seen that before. If you want to hear more of those words, optionpit.com is the place to go. And Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on until we gather here together on Thursday? And where should folks go if they want to check out your Twitter, your YouTube, all that good stuff?
Well, I think oil needs to be watched very closely. Just with the price action as well as the global events that are happening right now. Definitely going to be staring at oil very closely. Also continuing to watch the 10-year note as it sells off when the Fed says it's going to sell off. So continuing to watch that. In terms of the S&P 500, we're kind of in the middle. And so I've always had said in the past, buy the dump, sell the hump, don't diddle in the middle. And right now we're kind of in the middle. So where I'm at right now, we are still negative on the year. So just selling the far out of the money put spreads and continuing to do that. In terms of where you can go to learn more information about who I am and what I do, feel free to follow me on Twitter at Mike Tosaw, TOSAW, or you can check out my website, stcharleswealth.com, if you're looking for a financial advisor who uses the option product fairly frequently, if it's appropriate for his clients, of course. And also, you can follow me on YouTube. Just type in St. Charles Wealth Management. Subscribe to my channel. Would love to have you.
St. Charles Wealth Management is the place to go for all of that media all in one place. And we got to get on out of here, listeners. But don't worry, we're already running long. But we'll be back in less than an hour now, 55 minutes, to break down the madness going on in the world of crypto. Yeah, there's a little bit out there. Is crypto really high beta tech at the end of the day, as some of our guests have alleged of late? We'll get into all that fun stuff. What's going on, the volume, the volatility, the skew, the open interest, all that good stuff. and a whole bunch more coming up. 55 minutes, the crypto rundown. Back again tomorrow, of course, for all you cool Secret Club kids with the one and only Mr. Scott Nations answering all your vol questions. NASDAQ versus S&P vol, skew or not to skew when looking at a vol product. All sorts of fun stuff. His new book, a whole bunch more coming up tomorrow. Education Wednesday, of course, Options Bootcamp. Dan is back from vacation, so we'll be live back on the network on Wednesday, as well as, of course, OPR with Mr. Overby a little bit after that. Then back again on Thursday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.